the stage just to stay inside the time cut. Crying face emoji.
What are the emotions then of a retired sprinter who's won the green jerseys? He looks at those images.
All I can say, I actually sent him a little message.
He was the French president, Emmanuel Macron, on the far side of the car. Christian Prudhomme nearest the picture. He is the tour director. He was the former lead commentator for French television, covering the Tour de France for a number of years.
Yep, Christian Prudhomme, the former journalist, and now the director of the world's biggest race.
He's been in charge since 2006. I was a little worried initially with so many stages of 200 plus kilometres that could lead to some really negative racing, but it hasn't been the case at all. The only genuinely dull day was the stage that was won by Dylan Gruner on Sur-Seon, which was 230 kilometres, and there was no real wind to cause any action within the peloton. And you can't have chocolates every day. And Mohoric is doing the sacrificing for Vincenzo Nibali. Guillaume Martin, the philosopher, is at the back. He did philosophy at university in Paris. Peloton's still pretty much all together. Group Armour FDJ doing a lot of the pacemaking. And it's the time trial specialist now who was on the front. William Bonnet has gone from the front. It's now over to Stefan King, who is setting the pace. So far, things are working out well, but it's still very early in the stage, less than halfway through. Luke Rowe, the first of the riders from Ineos, the rider that just wiped his nose then, that's David Goudou. 22-year-old Frenchman, brilliant climber. He'll be crucial to the prospects today of Thibaut Pinot. Average speed so far 42.5. It will be a lot slower than that by the end of the stage at the top of the Col de Tourmalet. The tour finished at the top of the Col de Tourmalet for the very first time in 1974. It was Jean-Pierre Dengoyam who went out the winner of the stage on that occasion. So let's now take a look at the historic footage from 1974 and the first ever finish at the top of the Col de Tourmalet.
This is Matteo Trentin. Also feeling the effects. I wouldn't expect him to be dropped just yet from the big group, but maybe also feeling the effects of that breakaway the other day on the way to Bagnères de Bigorre.
It went super deep, but they got the result as Simon Yates won.
Roger Kluge.
166 is Roger Kluge. The upside down 13, Marcus Burkhardt.
You'll see a lot of riders here doing the maximum to try and hang on over the top of the Soulur to get a free ride down the valley. It's a bit of descending, then a plateau, then gently downhill down the valley, and then quite a bit of flat before they hit
just to pay the price.
So Movistar also getting interested in the chase. So it seems a lot of teams got their hearts set. Now, it can't be panic about Guillaume Martin, who's at over 9 minutes behind on GC. This is racing to try and put Julian Alaphilippe under pressure. Don't give him an easy ride over the first climb. Keep the pressure on. Make it come down to the pure climbers. They've got to get rid of him.
It's closing down really quickly, but everybody predicting the big decisions will be in the Alps. This is now Andre Amador at the front, followed by Marc Soler.
Maybe they want to test him, but Thomas has got a teammate up there setting tempo as well in Michal Kwiatkowski, and that's also very early. Here's Julian Alaphilippe in his wheel, Steven Kruiswijk. I think a lot of this is aimed at unseating Julian Alaphilippe.
Sunweb, they've been in plenty of breakaways throughout the race. They've had a few close calls, but now they're relying on the young 22-year-old German climber.
Ilnur Zakarin, who kicked off the hostilities within this group, he upped the tempo. Vincenzo Nibali, he's the man who started the break. He was the first real attack. Vincenzo Nibali, see who's still coming across, and always willing to push the tempo is Zakarin. He looked bad in the first week of this Tour de France. Maybe he started to come through and he's found some sort of Grand Tour second wind.
This is Roman Sicker, who is fighting his way back, looking for the wheel of Luis Leon Sanchez, who is the man next in line. This is Sanchez from Astana. Total Direct Energy is about to be caught. They have Carlos Verona in that breakaway group, who hasn't been contributing. He's been sitting.
Still two riders, Geraint Thomas, Richie Port, making his way further up towards the front. It will not be a big group as they come over the top of the Sulur. There's a big split.
Yes. Natneb Berhane, the Eritrean national champion, had an opportunity yesterday to have a good...
Riders you wouldn't expect to be in contention on this stage. Simon Clark, number 93, in the pink and purple of Eton. Daryl Impey, Luke Durbridge, 102. Number 92, Alberto Bettiol, the winner of the Tour of Flanders.
This group just getting itself organised. This is Michael Matthews now in the red colours, that familiar figure. Colours from the Koenig Quick-Step. Next one going backwards, that's Anthony Roux, former French national champion.
Rosetto, Perez, always together.
Romain Bardet is in this group, so no, that's Michael Chirel. I thought it was Bardet for a moment, that was Michael still in there.
Also overboard, Oliveira for Movistar, Magnus Cort. Plenty of drop riders to look at with on.
It is Johnny Moscon, number 5 from Ineos. There he is, Roman. 2019 has been a write-off. This is a man who's finished second overall in the Tour de France. 30-plus riders surrounding the yellow jersey, and Bardet is not amongst them.
I'll be surprised if Romain Bardet finishes this Tour de France. It's been a complete disaster. I don't know what
just the start, Robbie. Another big day in the Pyrenees tomorrow. These are really bad signs for Adam Yates. And Jack Haig has dropped back. Number 103 has dropped back to support Adam Yates. Number 56, that's Rudy Millar from Group Armour FDJ. More riders being distanced. This is the front of the race, and Vincenzo Nibali, 2.6 kilometres remaining, is up in the tempo. He's responding to the move by Tim Wellens.
Wellens, he's on the hunt for the 10 points available at
I think this is Gisbert, and this is Wellens in front of him. And in the distance, you can't see him. It'll be Nibali, and it is one of the best descenders in the world.
It is pressure on. Vincenzo Nibali also realises with just a minute and a half back to the... This is a place he can take advantage of some cautious riding back there to open up the gap and really have a crack at the stage win.
If you like watching fast descending, I suggest you get online and you have a look at Vincenzo Nibali descending off the Poggio last year to win Milan-San Remo ahead of the sprinters. That was one of the best descents you're ever likely to watch. Nibali put on a masterclass, and he is the professor of descending this afternoon. Straightens up, and Wellens is able to get back to him, but as soon as they're in the corners, Nibali opens the gap again. The fromage of the Pyrenees. We've seen plenty of cows to help with the production of that cheese.
And here is the reinforcements for Movistar.
This is Carlos Verona. He will stay on the front and drive it through the Valley Road. They're really putting this race under pressure. Wellens, Nibali, Gisbert.
That Quintana has his heart set on a big performance, and not just an emotional, it's got to be this day because of the date. Nairo Quintana will be feeling really good. He will be having great confidence in his own ability. We saw him do it last year when the roads got above 2,000 metres altitude. He would not have his team ride like this if he wasn't feeling in the right.
Last year that win, high altitude finish above 2,000 metres, shortest road stage of the race. Today, shortest road stage of the race, high altitude finish above 2,000 metres. All the ingredients are there for Nairo Quintana, and I'm of the view his form this year is better than it was last year.
And it seems to suit him really well. A short stage that's intense from start to finish. No let up, no tempo riding on the climbs. Keep everybody at the limit for as long as possible. And then when he gets to those higher altitudes is where we have often seen the Colombians come into their own. So maybe another man that's liking this is Rigoberto Urán.
Being relaxed at the back, classic Rigoberto Urán, rockstar style, comes in late. He's got everything just at his feet. He'll never panic, Rigoberto Urán. He was very good in the time trial yesterday. I think Rigoberto Urán can win today's stage.
I think he can. I'm leaning towards Quintana.
I'm leaning to Urán.
One of the other Colombians would expect it so in France yesterday, and that was Egan Bernal.
And today, surely he has to work for Geraint Thomas.
You would think so. Egan Bernal, he said himself yesterday after the time trial, it was a bad day to have a bad day. Who knows if he's already back, but I think you're right. The hierarchy in that team now has got to be first for Thomas. If Bernal doesn't have to work, see what he can also do to stay up there.
Green jersey Robbie in the mountains. Peter Sagan hasn't yet been caught by yellow.
A bit of discomfort early on as we come past L'Église Saint-Félix in Ocon. But Peter Sagan got himself into the breakaway, helped his friend Vincenzo Nibali get away. Once the pace went on the Soulur, ease it back, roll over the top, relax on the descent, on for a free ride, and he'll come up to the top of the Tourmalet to collect another green jersey. Hearing through our race centre, Adam Yates is still 30 seconds behind this group. There's a little bit more descending to come. I'm not so sure they can close 30 seconds. Simon and Adam plus Jack Haig.
This is Vincenzo Nibali in the red colour. Leader of the King of the Mountain classification in third spot, Tim Wellens. He's extended his advantage today. Enzo Nibali wants the polka dot jersey. He's shown all the signs. He said that he was aiming for stages and the King of the Mountains jersey. It was only when those guys had their bad luck with the crashes that he started to talk about. But there's the gap for Adam Yates behind the peloton. 10th of the course, the leading breakaway group of 3, they're off in the distance. Yates could almost see the convoy of cars behind the peloton. I think he will be able to make contact again. He's going to spend a lot of energy in the process and a lot of energy of his brother Simon and his teammate Jack Haig.
Well, over the last 2 minutes, they haven't gotten any closer. They're still at 30, 31 seconds. In fact, they were into 29. They are losing
the third time. He's only 24. He's got a lot of experience for a 24-year-old. Gap for Yates is only a couple of hundred metres behind that main peloton. I do think he'll get there, but then they pay a really hefty price. But look at the gap for Romain Bardet. He's almost 3 kilometres behind the yellow jersey group. Here is a chat with Yates before the start of the stage. Oh, sorry, a little bit of confusion. Yates is at 10 seconds behind. Next, we're going to be hearing from Thibaut Pinot. So Yates is at 10 seconds behind. He will get there.
Well, if I knew Yates, well, he was at 30 seconds like we were seeing, but that wasn't his group.
They've created the barrage, though, Robbie, to make him earn every metre. It's going to be difficult. I thought the convoy was going to be the fortune had to get him there. The UCI, the commissaires, have done the right thing by creating that barrage.
They have. Not in this race situation. You do not get a free ride back across when you're a contender and you've been dropped.
Let's now go back to the start of the race with Thibaut Pinot, the Frenchman from Group Armour FDJ. As Jack Haig is closing it down, Yates will return. He makes a very good point, Thibaut Pinot. You can only make a plan that your legs can execute. Clearly, he's confident, though, with the amount of work we've seen his teammates doing from Group Armour FDJ. This is the second group on the road. The red colours at the back of that group. That was Ilnaz Zakarin. These are the riders they're chasing, and again, into a technical part of the descent, and the gap that has been opened up by Vincenzo Nibali. As soon as it gets technical, Vincenzo puts distance into his breakaway companions. 57 seconds the gap for the chasers. Zakarin has been caught by Luis Leon Sanchez and others.
The problem for Vincenzo Nibali, gapping these two who have been working smoothly with him, puts himself on his own, and he's got an 18-kilometre section through the sprint, through the feed zone, and to the foot of the Tourmalet. You'd be much better off with 3. He's only a few seconds in front. He'll probably ease up and wait. It'll be the best thing to do in terms of going for the stage win.
He's already around the next corner as Wellens and Gisbert still exiting the previous.
So they'll come back together. I think it's Vincenzo Nibali just making sure they push on as fast as possible, give them something to chase, also gives them a marker on the descent. Follow my line. He's 3-4 seconds in front. They see his entry point, a little bit of braking. They can judge it much better too. Makes them better descenders.
And the complete opposite to that, in the group at 28 seconds, Ilnaz Zakarin went over the top of the climb ahead of Sanchez, Sikar, Kamna and Kalmajan. He's now been caught by those 4 riders. Position in that group, and every single corner they go through, this is the peloton containing the yellow jersey of Julian Alaphilippe as it swells again. Number 3, Jonathan Castro-Viejo returns.
Yep, so Yates is back there. Guy coming into the race as a genuine contender, having before finished 4th overall, having won the white jersey for the best young rider in the Tour de France in the past, and then being dropped on the Category 1 climb when the real focus of the day is the big one at the end, the Tourmalet, the all category climb to the finish. His morale has taken a beating.
It has a real beating. He needs a fresh start, Romain Bardet. He looks like he needs a holiday. Not just physically, but psychologically, perhaps more so than even physically.
The group that formed on the Salur is going to come back together before we get to the foot of the Tourmalet.
And I fear Nibali today is hurting his chances for a future stage victory. 48 seconds in front of the yellow jersey group. Surely they'll be caught on the Golden Tourmalet. 1 kilometre to the intermediate sprint. Nibali, though, he's a man with loads of experience. And he's a guy that traditionally in Grand Tours gets better into the 3rd week. Here are the chasers. They've cleared out all the vehicles. Not even the Mavic neutral service with the motorbike is between these two groups. It's only 11 seconds. And 48 seconds back to the peloton.
Well, everything closing in, and I think we're going to have a complete front peloton of sorts, a small one, but a complete group when we get to the foot of the Tourmalet. Because job done. Get to the foot of the Tourmalet, and it's going to be up to the likes of Marc Soler, Alejandro Valverde, Mikel Landa, and Nairo Quintana to see if they can complete the execution of the plan.
I'd like to know the mood inside the Ineos team car, whether they are feeling the pressure of Movistar. That's what Movistar is trying to achieve. They want to put the team of the defending champion under pressure.
They also want to put Alaphilippe under pressure. Yates back of the peloton looking for drinks, both Simon and Adam.
Almost at the intermediate sprint. Wellens in front. Gisbert in second position. Nibali in red. This will not impact on the leaderboard in the battle for the green jersey. Wellens won over the top of the second climb on today's stage, the Col de Soulor, and he will win the intermediate sprint. Gisbert at 24 showed real maturity, not disrupting the rhythm. Nibali's not interested in this minor prize.
Tim Wellens, I doubt he believes in his chances to win the stage, even to take points on the Tourmalet, so just getting whatever he can out of the rest of this stage, the Belgian, and that's why that longer turn. So I'll do a much longer one if I can just roll through the sprint point as first. Still a few points left on the line for the chasing peloton. I'm sure we'll see Peter Sagan also do a turn through the intermediate sprint point and just add to his total and extend what is already a very large lead in the points competition.
And then once they get to the other side of town, it will then be into the feed zone. Peter Sagan now in the green jersey, making the most of the minor points that are on offer. No need to look over the shoulder, Peter. There is no one in that group that will challenge you today. Extends his lead further, on target for a 7th victory in the points classification. 3 riders from Mitchelton Scott at the back of the group.
This is the Abbatiale d'Entre-Dame de Somption and Saint-Savin.
And this one, Benedictine monastery that was founded in around about the 9th century on the ruins of an old Roman palace. In 945, the Counts of Bigorre richly endowed the abbey by purchasing the land and giving them the opportunity with the Benedictine order to build the abbey in this position. It was declared part of the national estate during the French Revolution, and throughout the 1990s they did a lot of refurbishment, and it now houses a museum of religious art.
This is the Pic Midi d'Ossau, here high in the Pyrenees. This is the Pic du Midi de Bigorre. The observatory we saw earlier on in the broadcast, right at the start, and that's even overlooking the Tourmalet, well above, around 3,000 metres, just a touch under. 2,850 something.
Correct. That's roughly what it stands at. It was good to see earlier on as well. There was somebody there dressed up as an astronaut. Today marking the 50th anniversary of the moon landing. This is the leading group. Calmajan at the back in the blue colours of Total Direct Energy. He's found his form. He, by his own admission, was really struggling in the first week. He's now been in a couple of important breakaways. Wellens with the King of the Mountains jersey. Nibali collecting the musette bag from the side of the road. If you have just joined us, let's now take a look back at the stage so far and show you what you might have missed out on. This is the Bardet group with pretty much all of his teammates around him. 7 riders from AG2R Le Mondial in this group. The only one missing, Alexis Vilimos, I didn't spot there. It's a sad sight to look at the size of this group with non-climbers in here and lots of them.
Missing a lot of sprinters. This is Roman Sicard at the front of the race for Total Direct Energy, trying to get himself onto the foot of the Tourmalet first as they ride up the valley road. Vincenzo Nibali, he just continues to tap out the rhythm. So don't worry about attacking up the road. Let's try and work together, see if we can possibly open this gap. If the peloton take their foot off the gas through the feed zone, we might be able to take a few more seconds.
For Roman Sicard, of Total Direct Energy. This is as close as he'll get to his home region. He's from the Basque country on the French side of the border.
Looking to impress the family and the fans and not taking their foot off the gas whatsoever is Team Movistar.
Peter Sagan in the break, mopping up the points from that main peloton at the intermediate sprint. There's Sika in the distance, opening up a small advantage.
The rest of the group seem to be letting Vincenzo Nibali, or putting the pressure on Vincenzo Nibali to do the bulk of the work in the pacemaking on the front of this group. And that time gap is coming down 39 seconds, 40. It's going up a little bit for Sicard, but that main part of that breakaway group are drifting back towards the peloton.
10 years ago, he was the big hope of French cycling. He won the Tour d'Avenir for the future stars of the Tour de France. The same year, in a really hilly course in Mendrisio, the World Championships in Switzerland, he won the under-23 road race solo. Intermediate sprint, Wellens collecting the 20 points for Peter Sagan in 9th position, 7 more points in the race for green. Here he is, Roman Sicard, our sole leader at 31 seconds ahead of the yellow jersey group.
And it's a technical descent, so you've got to think of those numbers in terms of a really winding technical descent where you don't get a long straight section to build up really high speeds for a long period. 3.2 kilometres to the climb of today's stage. It is an all category climb, and at the top, as well as the stage win, there's also the Souvenir Jacques Godet, the prize, going to the winner on top of the Tourmalet. The highest point here in the Pyrenees they'll race. It's the highest paved road in the French Pyrenees.
Not too far away from the Spanish border, super motivated today, and the Colombian star Nairo Quintana is priority number 1. Feel, in a similar way to Simon Clark when he was in the breakaway, that once they hit the bottom of the climb, the tank will be empty. And for Roman Sicard, this with the most combative prize, he has not won a race in the pro peloton. 10 years since his last victory, that was the under-23 World Championships in Mendrisio 2009. He's break it down into bite-sized pieces. Now he breaks it down into this 20-kilometre climb.
This is really good for Sicard. Tailwind up the valley, and him pushing the lead out to nearly a minute and a half now.
Mikel Landa now on the radio. He's had a tough tour, one disrupted by bad luck.
But you never know what you're going to get with Mikel Landa. You said priority number 1 for Movistar is Nairo Quintana. I'm wondering if that's just what they're telling Mikel Landa now as a reminder. Yeah, but the enigmatic Spaniard so often does whatever he wants.
And he's reported to be going to Bahrain Merida next year. Quintana reported to be going to RKS Samsung. And Movistar are on the hunt for Enric Mas, who wears the white jersey today at the Koenig Quickstep.
His interview this morning, he said, we're going to give everything for Julien. We are starting to believe he can get to Paris in yellow.
Underneath the 20-kilometre mark of the climb of the Tourmalet is about to start. He just nags away uphill. This is a gradient of around about 2% or so, maybe even a little bit more than that for Rome. As the real climb for the Frenchman is about to start. Here come the chasers. Gisbert at the front, followed then by Calmajan. When you're not here throughout the Tour de France, it really is a very peaceful, calming region. This is the Château Sainte-Marie, which we're now getting a chance to look at. This was built by the Count of Bigorre back in the 10th century. It housed also the Hospital of St. John, later the Knights of Malta, then the English garrison during the 100 Years' War. There are the numbers, 19 kilometres.
These are the first chasers. Elie Gilbert, the man in white and black, and Lilian Calmajan.
Still Movistar at the front. Astana coming around the outside, making sure that they position Jakob Fuglsang. Richie Porte is in there with one teammate. He's got Volker Mollema for support.
And Richie Porte, he has
always spoken about week 3. And the Alps are still to come. Older Tourmaline. Carlos Verona, one last time to the well.
Peter Sagan and the men around him, they've decided that is enough. We're going to get to the finish okay. With him, Ilnur Zakarin, the man who was in the breakaway. Also, Vincenzo Nibali, Tis Benoit, he will play no further role.
And Kamner, who was in that earlier breakaway. So once they realise they're caught, save the energy and look for the next opportunity to try and win a stage. It's Ali Gisbert at the front for Akaya Samsic. It's still Movistar. Ineos, still with plenty of riders in that group. They've still got 4 there. It looks like Jonathan Castroviejo has returned. And Mikhail Kwiatkowski. 3 riders in there for Jumbo-Visma. Supporting Stephen Kruijswijk, George Bennett and Lawrence de Plus.
This is now Gilbert going away from Lilian Calmejean and going in search of Roman Sicard.
Calmejean had been sitting behind him the whole time. Shows the strength of Gisbert.
At least for Elie Gilbert, he had that tailwind up the valley, so it didn't make a lot of difference to him. And he's chasing that one man in front. Now he goes in search of Sicard. The peloton, they are around 45 seconds behind him.
A 24-year-old riding the Tour for the front of him. Or have they? No, they haven't. Not just yet. They should be. Because this is the man he is chasing. This is Roman Sicard. One last bidon prep. The steady nature of this climb, it does suit Geraint Thomas. And Dylan van Baarle.
I agree with you completely. It suits Thomas. It does get steeper at the top. But remember what he did on La Planche de Belfi when the gradients were up to 24%. Really interrupted the altitude training camp, snowed out, the crash in the Tour de Suisse. Today will give us a much better indication than yesterday did in the time trial. Sheltered, Julian Alaphilippe.
Also in that group, Jakob Fuglsang was there for this starter team. He's got quite a few teammates around him. The white colours of UAE Emirates. Dan Martin is in the group. Rigoberto Urán is there. He has Bauke Mollema as Ali Gilbert is getting across to Roman Sicard. And he is at his limits. Off from the front of the peloton for the Movistar team. It's now Andre Amador who is setting the pace. Roman Sicard. Does Gilbert force the pressure or have a little bit of a rest? It's a little bit of a rest. He'll have a drink and then he needs to maintain this rhythm. Somehow. Easier said than done.
Because it's not quick enough, he needs to go straight past him, which he does.
Straight away. He's showing real maturity for a 24-year-old.
And looking straight away, it wasn't a look as if say, are you coming with me? Am I dropping you already?
And he is. That is the answer. Not happy with the tempo. This has been impressive.
So Elie Gilbert, he's offloaded Calmejean out of his wheel. He's ridden across to his teammate Sicard, and he's also got rid of him.
What I'll do now.
And it's the young Frenchman from Akaya Samsic who now pushes on the lower slopes of the Tourmaline.
It's nice to be having this conversation about him as opposed to Gianni Moscon. Let's put that behind us as Ali Gisbert is applying the pressure at the front, hunting for a stage victory.
More riders out the back now. Lutsenko and Luis Leon Sanchez from Astana going out the back of the bunch. Their job is done for today. They've supported Jakob Fuglsang. This is Calmejean. He's been swallowed up and spat out.
Way. Back of the peloton, Mitchelton Scott out of the saddle. That looked like one of the Yates brothers.
It looked more like Adam's style than Simon's, but we didn't get a read of the number. And yeah, of course, being identical twins, it is somewhat difficult.
And Alejandro Valverde, Nairo Quintana. In that group, Mikel Landa. So well represented at the front, the Movistar team. 10% gradient.
This is Gilbert, the young French peloton. He's matching Andre Amador, pedal stroke for pedal stroke, but there's still more to come from Movistar. Marc Soler lining up behind, ready to do a turn of pace.
Behind Alaphilippe is his teammate in white, and that is the best young rider, Enric Mas, the facial expression of Egan Bernal.
Bearing the teeth,
It's
Dan
still
Martin
a,
gone once
meeting
and
quality
returned.
download for now, just to
It's
speed
gone
things
twice. I don't see him coming back again. In Sweat to a very, very warm day out there as well. The Spaniards, they'll be loving it. Maybe the Welshmen less so.
Yellow everywhere. But it's a man in white for Arkea Samsic. The smallest or the second smallest budget in the race, Arkea Samsic, behind Wanty Group Goubert. And their 24-year-old French climber, Ali Gisbert, is the man who was leading the charge up one of the most famous climbs in the history of the Tour. The 83rd time onto the Col de Tourmalet, first scaled in 1910 in this race. Still Movistar, still Amador. As Volker Mollema somehow has made his way to the front of that group. He's been yo-yoing on and off the back. He's towed Richie Porte around. He's been there to support him. Volker Mollema is doing an outstanding job.
Well, Porte back towards the back of the group again. So Mollema, he brought Porte up towards the front, right up to the wheel of Julien Alaphilippe. He's since dropped further back.
This is Mollema with the yellow helmet on and the white and red colours. Trek Segafredo leading the team's classification. EF in the pink colours, Education First. They have Rigoberto Urán and Tanel Gangout in that group.
Really a game effort by Elie Gebert, riding against the same man over the last 10 or 12 kilometres now. Andre Amador, only 11 kilometres to go. This has been a super effort by the Costa Rican on the front of the peloton, still with Soler, Valverde, Landa and Quintana to come.
Riding to instruction at the front, Andre Amador. Access to the Pic de Midi, the observation tower that we saw some footages of a little earlier. Number 91, Rigoberto Urán, hard to read the body language, often sits towards the back, rode well on the time trial yesterday.
Yet some riders prefer to just drift through the group, not hold one position, but go with how the legs feel. Castroviejo, he's dropped. He'll switch things off and just roll his way up to the top.
No benefit in Castroviejo trying to limit the damage. He needs to actually save the energy for the next day, as you alluded to moments ago.
At Team Ineos, they don't think about it as the individual's energy reserve. It's the team's energy reserve, and you're a part of that machine. It's done for Amador. Huge job by number 63, the Costa Rican.
That was impressive. That is what a domestic does when they empty the tank. He has come to a grinding halt. Bilbao now number 72 for Astana. He is really suffering.
Well, now Marc Soler will have gone to the front of the group for Movistar. Richie Porte starts to move up because it's becoming more urgent, more important to sit forward. Riders are now starting to be offloaded. Volker Mollema going back as well. Nairo Quintana now a long way in the back of the group.
And a long way forward in the saddle, which is always a sign of suffering. Number 12 is Emmanuel Buchmann. He's in 6th place overall. 91 is Rigoberto Urán. The French champion who says he wants to be a car salesman, Warren Barguil, is at the front. Don't worry about selling cars, worry about winning bike races. You're one of the best in the world. The peace and quiet, the tranquility at the top. Ali Gisbert about to be caught, but this is deserving of the red number for the most combative. He should get a spot on the podium.
It's been a great ride by Gilbert. Richie Porte again, another acceleration. So just hopping around riders who are starting to be distanced.
This is Roman Kreuziger, the best placed overall for Dimension Data. Start of the day in 19th. He fights on. He will fight all the way to the finish to limit the damage.
Aru now also being dropped. No surprise, it's the start of a big comeback.
Quintana is being dropped. Movistar doing all the work at the front, and Nairo Quintana is being dropped.
Well, this is now a huge surprise.
Now it's all for Mikel Landa. Number 8, that is Dylan van Baarle. It's been extraordinary for the Dutchman to survive this long. He's a specialist for the classics such as the Tour of Flanders and Paris-Roubaix.
Well, after Quintana, the next is Alejandro Valverde, but he is the man at the front of the group.
It's for Landa. This is for Mikel Landa, who is 3rd in line for Movistar. It's Soler, Valverde, the world champion, then Mikel Landa.
So maybe those injuries for Quintana are much worse than we thought. He said, don't make a big deal of it. It'll only make the people at home worry. Well, they are obviously affecting him because he's going out the back and his team is continuing to drive it at the front.
And there he is, Nairo Quintana is all on his own, and the composure of the yellow jersey, Julian Alaphilippe looks as comfortable as anybody in that leading group.
You can hide for a little while in the Tour de France. You can bluff it for a bit. When you get in the high mountains like this, eventually the truth comes out. And I think now we're discovering the extent of the injury to Nairo Quintana from that crash a couple of days ago.
He looked so good in the first week. He looked good on stage 6 de La Ponce de Belleville. Twice second, once third. The podium will...
But hurting on the inside, Nairo Quintana.
The telltale sign is how far forward he was in the saddle when we looked at him at the back of the group. And over the shoulder, this is Marc Soler
trying to salvage it for Quintana, sending Soler back. In the meanwhile, it was Valverde on the front.
Soler.
Do they now stop riding at the front? Soler's gone back for Quintana, he's got him. Aru is there behind him. Dylan van Baal is the man in front of Marc Soler. That's the gap to the main group, and now as Ineos have taken over the pacemaking. So Movistar, so aggressive, been on the front for most of the stage.
Barguil now attacks the French national champion. Says he wants to be a car salesman. Well, see if you can buy a pair of these wheels. Can they track him down? 6 minutes 39 seconds
problem
behind.
For Barguil, he stopped pedalling. Chain mechanical, he's got it back on.
Perhaps he was going to the big chain ring.
Whatever he was doing, he flipped the chain off.
But he stayed calm. Richie Port and Bauke Mollema at the back of this group for Trek Segafredo.
Now it's Walt Pouls.
Lawrence de Plus is here for Jumbo-Visma, and in second position for Jumbo-Visma is George Bennett.
A lot of talking within Team Ineos. Here's the attack back of the group. So he starts his attack from 30 metres behind the lead of the group.
He's found his rhythm now, Warren Barguil. Arkea Samsung.
They are riding a great stage.
Do they really need to hire Nairo Quintana? That's the rumour that Quintana is going across next year. This group has really slowed down as Dylan van Baal has recaught them.
That was the talking we saw from Ineos. We saw Egan Bernal on the radio. Thomas behind him looking like he was suffering. The pace was being set by Walt Pouls. Now they've eased off. Van Baal comes back to the front. In control at the moment with just Barguil off the front.
Warren Barguil. He gets the support even by the Basque spectators. He starts the day 6:39 down in the overall classification. But at what point does Geraint Thomas and Team Ineos start to worry about the yellow jersey, about Julian Alaphilippe, who leads by 1 minute and 26 seconds? And Walt Pouls perhaps is asking exactly the same question of Geraint Thomas. They're in deep conversation. Number 71, Jakob Fuglsang. He said yesterday for the first time, stepping onto the team bus, he didn't feel his knee from the crash on stage 1.
Time performer Barguil, and with 8 kilometres to go, a 12-second gap. None of the big favourites have made a move as yet, so I'm not going to call him as a possible stage winner at this moment, but a great ride by Arkea Samsic. We've seen Gilbert, we've seen riders in the break, and now their team leader off the front at the hottest point of the race so far.
Can we go possible with a hesitation? Because he is making the race, and that is the destination. The mythical Col de Tourmalet.
That is the top of the climb, and look at the fans on the hillside. They are up here in their thousands lining the roads.
What a stadium.
In the Pyrenees.
And it's been closed for a long time. Look at how far down those camper vans are. You're making your way up on foot. The man affectionately known as Wawa is wowing the French public. 15 seconds. I'm hearing you about the fact that the big favourites, they haven't accelerated yet. There's still 7.7 kilometres to go, but this is the best he's looked in 2 years by a long shot.
Oh, most definitely. That's an easy one to pick. It's the best he's been in a long time. Team Ineos taking responsibility. And are they lulling the rest of the favourites into a false sense of security? Maybe they're just trying to go a little bit slower at a pace that suits a Thomas that's possibly suffering. He wants to win on the Tourmalet. He's talked the talk, and Pinot goes to the front. It's David Gaudu Away from Ineos, we see it often, the acceleration, it's not followed by the British team, and they try to wind it back in. But with a man in form like Thibaut Pinot, can they do it? It's panic stations a little bit behind. Jakob Fuglsang reacts.
So too does Mikel Landa from Movistar.
And Alejandro Valverde, he follows the wheel. The riders from Jumbo-Visma, Steven Kruijswijk, and not a move yet by Ineos. They are sensing a weakness.
At the back, 25, the white jersey. That is Enric Mas. 136 with the yellow number on. That is Bauke Mollema. Well, Poles are still in this group. De Plus, Kruijswijk and Bennett for Jumbo-Visma. Kruijswijk is looking really dangerous for yellow. Richie Porte is still in that group. He slots himself in behind the white jersey of Enric Mas. But the gap is starting to open for Mas behind the yellow of Alaphilippe Gaudu. The 22-year-old of French cycling setting the tempo. This is Kangert now being dropped in pink.
Bauke Mollema struggling at the back. Richie Porte looking over his shoulder, seeing how much room he's got to drift when the pace comes on. Barguil still punching it out, 18 seconds in front.
Hasn't lost any real time though. It's been an acceleration, but not any significant time loss for Warren Barguil. This is Mollema, the Dutchman. Third in the 2011 Volta a España.
In front of him, last man on the group now is Richie Porte. Mollema struggles his way back into the wheels.
He's a picture of suffering, Bauke Mollema, and he knows how to go deep. This is Gaudu, followed by Pinot. It's then Fuglsang, Movistar with Landa. For the first time this morning, we heard Thibaut Pinot talking up the fight.
Looking at the faces, the two that look the most comfortable in the group, with a Frenchman on the front, Gaudu and Pinot.
Bauke Mollema still fighting, still clawing his way back. One pedal stroke at a time. Richie Porte is at the rear of the group.
Barguil takes another second on the chasers.
3 riders remaining. Number 1, you can see the hips from number 1, Geraint Thomas. They were starting to rock and roll.
Usually so solid in the seat, Geraint Thomas. Now a bit of movement, rocking and rolling. Quintana, he's being further distanced. He is now 36 seconds behind the group of the Maillot Jaune.
They're those little signs, sitting forward in the saddle. The hips rocking and rolling forward a bit more. A bigger gear than normal as opposed to the souplesse of a high pedaling cadence. Geraint Thomas looks to be under a little pressure.
Warren Barguil holding more or less steady, 17 seconds. And we've spoken so much about it, about the defending champion of the Tour. Geraint Thomas, he may get found out the lack of preparation, and it was going to take a long time in this Tour to get to that point. This is the first proper big mountain.
Here are the gaps on the road. The far right, Yates a long way behind. Then it's Quintana. He's at 300 metres behind the yellow jersey group. And then out in front on his own to the tune of 15 seconds is Warren Barguil. Fernando Quintana, he's 29 years of age, but it feels like his best is behind him. He hasn't been anywhere near it for the last 2 years by comparison to our expectations of him. He's won the Giro, he's won the Vuelta.
And we just can't know the effect that that crash on stage 11 has had on him, whether he had it in him coming into this Tour or not, and it's so hard to get a read on Nairo Quintana.
We'll never know the answer to that question, the size of the impact of that crash.
12 seconds now for Warren Barguil. David Gaudu, he is making inroads on the lead, down to 10 seconds. Thibaut Pinot, he's got his heart set on this one. He's ridden this climb so many times. You spoke about his fastest time up there, and we talk sometimes about Strava records. His best time is 10 seconds inside the Strava record. Barguil, he sees that he seemed to ease off.
He knows he's about to be caught, so he's riding smartly. He's saving something for the next attack. That's clever by Warren Barguil. This is not Barguil, full stick, trying to fend them off. The yellow jersey is still there, Julian Alaphilippe. He dares to dream, so too do the French. They want him to believe. And at number 1, Geraint Thomas is a long way back in that group.
Suffering or bluffing?
Give me 5.7 kilometres. And I'll tell you the answer. That's the beauty of the tour this year. It is wide open. Goudu, he ups the tempo. They see the capture and they see the gap starting to open up behind. The young Frenchman is applying pressure.
Barguil, he's slotted back in fifth wheel, just ahead of the three riders from Jumbo-Visma. There goes one overboard for Ineos. That's
and Richie
pulls.
Port is also overboard. He was good yesterday against the clock. Port is now really suffering. 15th overall at 4:44. He might still improve his position overall today, but this is difficult. Enric Mas is the next.
Enric Mas, he was the GC hope for De Koenig Quickstep coming into the Tour de France, but it's Julien Alaphilippe in the yellow jersey who is still holding strong in the group just ahead of him. Oh, the teeth starting to come out from Thibaut Pinot. Jakob Fuglsang, he is cruising near the front and looking good. Julien Alaphilippe out of the saddle, dancing on those pedals like he always does. I'm tipping him to hold yellow.
He's starting to become a big contender. Wout Poels is at the back of the group. He latches on with the world champion, Alejandro Valverde. Egan Bernal and Geraint Thomas still in this group for Ineos.
Alaphilippe tracking Team Ineos. He almost hasn't left the wheel of Geraint Thomas. Valverde now at the back of the group. This is Poels. His job is done.
Not much left for him to do. Wout Poels is now being distanced. I don't think he'll come back a second time.
He's gone for...
He took a long-range attack to Alpe d'Huez. We're seeing the suffering now of Julien Alaphilippe. He is digging deeper into the barrel. There can't be much left in the tank, can there, with all the race? And they've raced for more than 2,000 kilometres already.
But you know, it's hard to tell with Julien Alaphilippe if it's suffering or selling the show. Buy a ticket and get on board with Julien Alaphilippe. It's always spectacular. And look at how small the group is, and he's still there. Never been in this position before in a Grand Tour.
Whichever it is, I'm buying 2 tickets and I'm bringing in a guest front seat to watch Julien Alaphilippe.
Thomas makes a move up the inside, improving his position in the red, up and around the riders of Jumbo-Visma.
Just to remind everybody, he's still there. And he is. He slots himself alongside Jakob Fuglsang. Bernal comes with him.
Little flatter sections, so taking advantage of just flattening out. Gain a bit of momentum, ride your way around the group, find some shelter from the wind as well, because there's a few little turns where the breeze will hit them. Anything is enough.
Valverde still suffering at the back, the world champion. The yellow jersey, Alaphilippe, he sits behind the French champion, Barguil. In front of Barguil, it's Emmanuel Bookman. Then the pink colours of EF Rigoberto Urán. 3 there for Jumbo-Visma, Kruijswijk, De Plus and Bennett. Mikel Landa is here for Movistar in 4th position. Jakob Fuglsang sits in 3rd spot. At the front is David Goudu, followed by his team leader, Thibaut Pinot. 27 seconds back to Enric Mas, and that is in the vicinity.